For most of us, life revolves around our communities. Our homes, schools, local businesses, the places where we work and play. But how often do we think about the connections between our daily lives and the rest of the world? In many countries, we've been fortunate enough to live without fear of being invaded by our neighbors. In fact, we buy products made overseas, use apps and services developed in other countries, eat food grown on foreign farms, and rely on technology designed thousands of miles away. At the same time, our own nations sell exports to global markets. These mutually beneficial connections feel so normal that we hardly notice them. But they're more fragile than we think. World peace, global prosperity, and the hope for a better future all depend on a stable international system, one that we often take for granted. Most countries prefer a predictable world where they can focus on improving life for their people rather than constantly worrying about security threats. But not every government is happy with the way power is distributed. Some try to reshape global politics and economics to their advantage. When this happens, international security and trade can be thrown into chaos. Suddenly, things we don't normally think about, like shipping routes, alliances, or trade policies, become problems that affect us directly. We look to our governments to manage these challenges, and they do so by communicating and cooperating with other countries. In other words, they engage in diplomacy. The term diplomacy represents all the practices and institutions through which sovereign states manage their relations with each other. It's the basis upon which global security, international trade, world health, and the protection of the planetary environment are built. Think about some of the big problems facing the world today. Wars, drug trafficking, financial crises, pandemics, nuclear proliferation, climate change. You quickly realize that none of these can be handled by one country alone. Governments can take steps to protect their populations by stockpiling resources, strengthening their militaries, and building critical infrastructure. But these measures come at a high cost and only provide partial protection. Real solutions require cooperation, and that's what diplomacy makes possible. For as long as different groups of humans have interacted, people have had to figure out how to coexist and negotiate. Over the centuries, these traditions have grown into the diplomatic practices that we know today. In the past, kings sent emissaries to make deals and royal families arranged marriages to form alliances. Today, diplomacy has evolved into a more sophisticated system. Countries establish permanent embassies in each other's capitals. World leaders meet at global summits, and international treaties and organizations shape how nations work together. Even when world politics shift and power struggles emerge, diplomatic institutions remain. They provide a structured way for countries, big and small, rich and poor, to communicate and work together. It's through these mechanisms that our governments represent us on the world stage, and what they say to each other shapes our lives, influencing our safety, job opportunities, cost of living, and so much more. So ask yourself, how much do you know about your country's diplomacy and what it means for your future?